Hello, people of Twitchland. Hi, how's it going? Have Soul Vibes and Z Eminator, and I'm sure some other people came to see why Barry go live. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out in a minute. If you don't know me, hello, I'm Abbers. It's nice to meet you. I play video games on Twitch sometimes, and I also interview people sometimes for a podcast called Why We Go Live, which is what you've tuned into today. And our guest today is the amazing StrawberryShortK8. I'm going to show you a clip so that you can get to know her real quick. So here we go. In theory.
Just throw it in there. Capitalism. No! See, I knew it was gonna happen and it still scared me, and I don't want to know what's in the coffin, and I just would like to leave. She keeps trying to hide her butt from me. Please don't hurt me, Mr. Zombie. I just want to get by you real quick. Oop. I'm gonna quit the game now, because we just gotta stay with the dog forever. I don't know what to tell you. If the dog wants us to stay, we gotta stay with the dog.
I love that. It's true. If the dog wants you to stay, you got to just stay with the dog. You have no choice. Everybody ready? Let's get to know the wonderful and amazing StrawberryShortK8. Hi, how are you? I like how Mel's like, hi, as if we haven't been talking.
I know, right? Hello.
It's so
No, I'm good.
to
How are
see
you?
I'm good. I'm excited to get to know you more. It's always fun.
Yeah.
These people that you see kind of in Twitch land, but actually talking to them is like a whole other thing. So excited to have you. Ready to
Excited to be here.
Yay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Should we jump into it?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go for it. I'm excited.
Do you remember your first stream?
I do. May 8th, 2021.
I love it. The exact date. What did you stream that day?
Animal Crossing New Horizons, because I was very nervous, and at the time that was like my comfort game.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm scared. I'm gonna just play this and show people my island.
I love that.
And yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a smart strategy, honestly. So go back maybe a couple weeks before, like a couple months before. What was your thought process that made you go, okay, I wanna start streaming?
Well, it was during, we're still in the pandemic, but it was during like the initial part of the pandemic when I had made a Twitch like a year or two ago, like before then, because my brother had started streaming, but I never really did anything on it except watch him. And then, being at home, working at home, I would just turn streams on while I was working. And it made me think like, maybe I should try this out. Like, would it be weird if I tried this out? And I think it was actually Ashley Robato who actually inspired me to stream, because she played a clip of herself, her very first stream, and she was literally at her kitchen table with a laptop. Like, she's like, if you want to do it, just go for it. Just do it. Just start. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have all the stuff. Just if you want to do it, you got to just do it. So I was like, okay, I will. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's such good advice. I think it's like, at least for me, it's so easy to get into in our own way about these things. And it's like,
Yes.
just use what you got and go for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
What is the story behind your screen name?
So I was a camp counselor at a YMCA camp during one of the summers home from college. And interestingly, so there was tall Kate and short Kate. I was short Kate. I'm 5'2". People think I'm taller. I met an IRL Twitch friend recently, and she was like, I thought you were taller. I was like, no. So I was short Kate. One of the kids was like, we should call you StrawberryShortK8. And I was like, yeah, Absolutely. So I took that and now it's my screen name,
It's
like
really
pretty much
cute.
everywhere.
Yeah, I love
Thanks.
it. It's great. Um, so you're affiliate, right?
Yeah.
When did you get affiliate?
Hmm. It was in July. I think it was July
Okay.
of 2021.
What was that
So it was
process
about,
like?
it was very, I don't even know. It was a blur. Those first few streams, you're
Fair.
like, oh, and you're like, ooh, when I get to this milestone, I'm gonna do this. And so I didn't have a plan for when I reached affiliate, but once I had reached affiliate, I did have a plan that when I reached 100 followers, I was gonna play Bloodborne, and
Mm,
that definitely got people because I've never really played those games before.
yeah.
Um, but it was really just like an organic process of like, it wasn't like I was gunning for it. I was just sort of like, if it'll happen when it happens. I
Mm-hmm.
was meeting all these amazing people who were kind enough to hype me up in their streams and I would hype them up. Like it's that thing of like, yeah, we're in this together, kind of this community building beyond your own community is like as Twitch streamers, we want each other to do well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's really lovely. I think it's fortunate when you're able to find those people right off the bat, because it's an interesting space that way where I think it can be so community driven and collaborative, and also I think for a lot of people very competitive and kind of cutthroat. Where do you find yourself within all of that?
I try to avoid the drama. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to do my own thing. It is really hard though, I got to say, like recently I don't find myself comparing myself to others like growth, but I'm new to video games, so I find myself comparing my video game skills to other people and I'm like, I really got to stop with this because I haven't played games my whole life like some of the other people that I'm comparing myself to, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I think I just try to keep it all in perspective. Like everyone's on their own journey. You're not for everyone. So you're not going to have the same growth, the same trajectory as other people.
Yeah.
But just keep being yourself and doing what you're doing and the people will find like your people will find you. And that's definitely been true.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
no, I
far.
fully agree. And it's one of those things, obviously, that's like easier said than done, but I've
Oh yeah.
had the same experience, definitely.
Yeah.
Being new to video games, I think this is interesting.
Yeah.
What made you decide to stream video games?
Okay, so my channel, I do Mortal Mondays, where
Mm-hmm.
we stream games that have to do with death, loss, grief, etc., and talk about it. Um, I just realized, so I really fell in love with video games. I think the first video game I actually like fell in love with was Skyrim.
Mm.
I remember distinctly one day, the first day that I sat down and like played for hours and hours and hours. I sat down, played the game. My partner went to work. They came back from work and I was still playing. And I was like, "Oh, did you forget something?" Like, "No, I haven't been sitting here for 7 hours playing this game." I had. Um, but I got really lost in it. And so that was also a really nice escape in 2020. Specifically, I was finishing up Breath of the Wild and also just trying other branching out on my own. My partner got a new computer, so I got their old gaming laptop. So I was actually able to start playing some games that I'd been interested in. Um, and surprise, most of them are about death and loss. And so I thought, huh, is this a thing? Can I make this a thing? Can
Mm-hmm.
we play these games and talk about it? So that's sort of how it happened.
Yeah. Have you streamed
Yeah.
Skyrim? I don't think I've caught a Skyrim
I
stream.
haven't. No, I haven't. I
Ooh.
haven't played that in years, but maybe it's
Ooh.
time.
I would love to watch that. Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
fun. Maybe
We'll
just
see.
do whatever you want. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So how would you compare kind of your streams when you first started versus your streams now?
I have a better camera. I've got my subscriber hearts behind
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's really the same. I feel like I'm just the same person. I have more people to talk to, which is nice. Um, but yeah, and I think I've really sort of developed the Mortal Monday piece specifically. Like, I didn't really have a plan for how it was going to go. I was like, I'm going to play these games. We're going to talk about them. But I think I have more structure now. So we're starting. I was sort of inspired by you actually with the Wikipedia and me. I was like, okay, maybe we can do A to Z like death topics, and then people can also request topics if they want, if they're curious about something. Um, so we're going through a list. I do a PowerPoint. I also do these death deck cards. So if we don't have a topic planned, I will pick usually two of these, and we'll go through them. They have two different cards in them. There's like the yellow cards, which are like deep thought, like let me really consider this death topic, this thing, like okay. And then there's like multiple choice, so it's like really accessible way to just start a conversation, and so I think that's helped add some structure uh, as well. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I first found you, I think in your bio it was like fat, queer, death positive, and I was like, check, check,
hmm
check. Like I love all of
hmm
this. So it was one of those things where I was like immediately like, oh, I'm home. This is great. And I don't think I'm sure there are other death positive streamers out there, but it's not something that you commonly come across, right?
right.
Can you talk a little bit about death positivity and your kind of journey with it?
Sure. Yeah. So I started to become interested in the death positive movement, which death positivity is similar to sex positivity. That's sort of where it gets the name. So just let's talk about death because it's something that we're all going to experience someday. Um, like we're all going to die, and we're all going to have loved ones and friends and family that die and pets that die. So, and as a society, we in the US, we really don't talk about it. We're
Mm,
like fearful, we're very avoidant. All of the death process is like away from us. We don't really deal with it. We give it to someone else to handle, right? So, um, and I started to become interested in that after I've throughout my life lost a lot of people, of varying relationships that I've had with folks, and I just realized I had no part in the process at all.
mm,
Um, and I've seen, I had a cousin pass away young. He was my age actually when he died, and his funeral was very much not aligned with who he was as a person. And so it made me think about all this stuff. And also, I think I've shared this on stream as well. In 2015, I went to the eye doctor, and my optometrist thought, you've got something weird happening with your eyes. I'm going to refer you because I think you might have a brain tumor.
oh, wow.
So I got the MRI done. For about a week and a half, I thought I maybe had a brain tumor. Then the doctor called and said, you don't. But during that time, you're like, what does this mean for me? What
Sure,
does this
yeah.
mean? What? So I really started considering my own relationship with my own mortality, um, and wanted to learn more and sort of take some of if we don't talk about it, we don't have control. We don't have control over it, but we don't have any power.
Mm-hmm.
In learning more about this, I have the power to plan for how I want, my body to be, uh, I don't want to say disposed of, but like
Yeah.
what I want done with my remains when I go, who gets my stuff, like all, how I'm treated when I'm in the hospital, like all of that stuff. That self advocacy piece is really, really important, especially also as somebody who did a lot of reproductive health advocacy. It's bodily autonomy. It's all
Yeah.
related. So,
Absolutely.
um, yeah, did that answer that?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
great.
I was
I
like,
think that's awesome. I mean, yeah, obviously there's so much there, but I think that like the bodily autonomy piece is huge. And self-advocacy. I think that especially for folks who have marginalized aspects of identity, that's so powerful and so necessary, you know? Yeah, no, I think that's
yes.
lovely. And I think it's really cool that you have found ways to work it into your stream that feel very natural and organic. It doesn't feel forced to me. I think that speaks to just
Good.
it being part of who you are and what you care about, right? What do
Yeah, I just
you,
want people to know, to have the tools to make decisions for themselves. That's really what I want to do, is educate with the
yeah,
space and the platform that I have. So
yeah,
I'm glad that it's working.
definitely.
Question mark?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of people tend to find your streams?
People who are also queer and or fat and or death positive. Um uh Yeah, I usually get folks from other folks that I know. So folks from your stream or from Gwynny's streams or my teammates in Cosmic Hearts. Um, yeah, just and the people that stick around are the ones that like one of those things resonates for them, right? Like they're also queer, they're also fat, or also kind of curious about death but don't have a place to talk about it or ask questions.
Mm,
Um, yeah.
yeah. And you kind of said already, leaving people with tools and education. Are there other kind of impressions that you want to leave people with when they come to your stream, or just kind of first impressions maybe that you're hoping they'll get?
I just want people to consider my space to be a safer space to explore these things.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to hear about something that, for a lot of people is really scary. And not like immediately go away from it. Like, so I'm hoping that I'm creating a space where people feel comfortable learning about something that scares them. And just being their authentic self. I'm just hoping that I create that sort of space
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about Ashley Roboto.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other, well, and I love that story again. Like, I think to reiterate just this idea, like I stream on a laptop that's like not meant for streaming. And when I first started, I was using my apartment building's community Wi-Fi, right? So like, I very much
Mm-hmm.
identify with that story. But are there other streamers or kinds of streams that inspire you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've already talked about your Wikipedia with me. That was a huge one in helping me like structure my Mortal Mondays. I really just like hanging out with people. Like I really just like um a space that feels like you're hanging out with friends playing games or
Mm-hmm.
watching a friend play or your brother play or whatever. Um I will say another early like community early on that I felt really comfortable in was Sage Fira. Her streams are very fun. She's an aspiring voice actor, and I came in on a raid to her stream when she was playing Fallout New Vegas, and I was immediately impressed by the voice acting. I was like, wow, I'm very immersed in this story. Plus, those games are just very fun to watch. And the community is really welcoming. So if your community is warm and welcoming, I'm gonna want to hang out,
Yeah.
and that goes for your streams as well, Abbers. But
Thank you. Really
yeah,
appreciate that.
um, yeah. I mean, there are so many people. Look, it's Lyrica is a
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine as well. Got to shout out the Death to Divinity
Yes.
actual play 5e all fat all queer D&D show. They're on their winter break right now, but they'll be back in the new year. Oh, talk about affirming spaces. Like it really means a lot to be able to be in a space full of other fat folks, like,
Mm-hmm.
and not, yeah, and just not feel self-conscious about that. Fat and queer folks, just like, Abbers and I were talking before. We almost wore the same exact shirt.
Yeah. Fat and queer.
So we
I
almost like represented.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. Like when I knew that I was going to be interviewing you, I was like, I was caught between. I was like, I'm either wearing this sweatshirt or my fat bitch shirt. But I was like,
Hell yeah.
bitch is like a little bit aggressive.
Right.
But I have worn it on stream. I give very few fucks.
Also, shout out to Art by Gwynny.
Yes, Art by Gwenny made this
I
amazing
believe they're still
merch.
available if you want one
I
of your
think
own.
so. And I think it's just artbygwenny.com.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you want to be fat queer icons with us, go support Art by
Mm-hmm.
Gwenny. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, I think finding affirming spaces, I think also in a place like the internet that is full of people who are very ready to kind of spread vitriol and hate. I think that queer folks and fat folks and femmes and then obviously BIPOC folks like experience the brunt of that, right? And so to be able to find those spaces, I think is huge. Have you experienced any trolls coming into your chat?
Not not really. I was prepared,
Yeah.
especially during like the summer of hate raids. I was like, I have an alert for if people come in because I'm fat. I have a thing for to shut it down if people come in because I'm queer. Like I was gonna turn ads on and have different charities I was going to support with the ad revenue from that as I like shut it down and tried to, but I really haven't.
Yeah. That's
And I'm
nice.
very, knock on wood here,
I
I'm
know,
very
right?
grateful
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
that.
I'll do it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good to hear. Well, and we've talked about this quite a bit already, but I think it's always interesting to kind of explore like what are the kind of aspects of your identity or just your background, your cultural like kind of upbringing that show up in your stream, and how do these things show up in your stream?
Well, I think obviously the more visible ones, so that I'm fat and that I'm white.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, white people take up a huge proportion of people on Twitch. And so I'm always trying to uplift, folks that are not as represented and, you know, using my privilege where I can. But my queerness, I was trying to make another channel trailer, and there was a lot of queer stuff in there, like thirsting over characters. So my queerness, I also just let it fly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so those are some things that definitely um, are at the forefront
Yeah.
all the time because I'm just trying to show up and be the most me that I can be all the
Right.
time, and hopefully make a space, like I said, where other folks feel like they can do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Do you ever feel any like pressure or anxiety around streaming?
Oh yeah,
Talk
yeah.
about that more. Yeah.
Well, I'm on a long break right now because I also work full time and have a new kitten and have all this stuff, other life stuff happening. And so there are just times where I'm not feeling like I want to do it.
Mm.
But then once I do it, it's great, you know? But, sometimes when you're just feeling that stress and that anxiety, even the things that you love to do add to that. But I'm always nervous. I'm always nervous no one's going to come. So it's always really nice when people like are chatting already. When you come in, you're like, oh, people are here
Yeah.
to hang out with me. Um, that's the main thing. It's like, oh, whenever life stuff is going on, I also feel like I can talk about it with my community as well to an extent. Not parasocial relationships are weird, but like,
Mm.
I share what I'm comfortable sharing, and others can share as well. But yeah, I'm usually a ball of anxiety, so
Yeah.
it's normal for me. But
Fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah. I mean, where is that line for you between your kind of private self and your kind of public persona, your Twitch persona?
Um, well, I usually like I'll just share like, oh, I've had a really anxious day, but I never go into detail about what that might mean. What specifically is making me anxious. Sometimes I will share a little bit more, like, oh, my job's really stressing me out or whatever. But yeah, I'll just be pretty general. But I do still, people can tell how you're feeling. Like especially if they've been in your space for a long time. If you're off, people might know.
Yeah.
Um, so I find it's better to, instead of try to like hide it and continue to be stressed out about it, just be like, hey, I'm really anxious today, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
really tired today. Um, but I never go into like detail about what that specifically why. I mean, I did share very openly when I lost my cat Mushi earlier this year. I did share a lot about that grief journey because it's my brand. Like, to talk, and I just wanted to be open about it a little bit more
Yeah.
because it's something that we're all going to experience grief at some point. And so like how do we sort of get through it?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is interesting too, like when we talk about like having a brand and kind of who you are online. Did you feel in that moment like obligation to share more about it, or did that feel like kind of a natural thing to do for you?
It felt natural to me. Um because I mean, she'd showed up on stream a couple of times. Like I'd bring her in and, um, have her say hi.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be doing like a live play D&D like show, one shot, like the following, like the day it happened or the day after it happened. And so I had to be very upfront and be like, this is what just happened.
Yeah.
And I need to let you know that I won't be there and I don't know when I'll be back. But my partner and I were both we really made the conscious decision to be very communicative with each other about what we were feeling in our grief and really honoring that grief, because it is, it's an extension of the relationship that you had with the person or the creature that you
Yeah.
loved, that you love, you still love. Your relationship continues, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think when we talk about losing a pet too, like culturally, I think that some people can be very dismissive of that relationship, and I think that that's not fair, in terms of grief and loss and all of that. And I think talking about death positivity and also maybe grief positivity on some level too, is huge, because I don't think that we live in a culture in the United States specifically, that holds a lot of space for grief, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, we're expected to just like, you know, okay, brush it off and I'll expect you at work next
Yeah.
week or whatever,
Yeah.
like you have a little bit of time of bereavement leave, most many jobs, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not always comfortable for you to then be grieving at work or in, spaces with your friends who aren't going through that. I will shout out honoring our animals, or honoring your animals, on Instagram.
Hmm.
She's a pet loss grief counselor who does a lot of really great posts. So if that's something that you're going through, or anticipatory pet loss, like anticipatory grief. If you have an ill animal, she has a lot of helpful posts about that too. So
Cool. Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely have to check them out. You were talking a little bit about, private life and having a day job. What is your day job outside of streaming?
I am. I work with data, so I'm a data and database specialist in a new statewide program that we are getting up and running, specifically related to early learning. So preschool, daycare, um, getting more access for folks. So
Nice. Do you see any
yeah.
similarities or maybe like differences between that and kind of your streamer life?
Yeah, there are some similarities, interestingly. Anytime you have a job where you're interfacing with a lot of different organizations or people from like these big like funders, or you do have to sort of like turn on like hello, like it's like my phone voice. It's
Yeah, yeah,
different
yeah.
than my regular voice when I'm talking to my coworkers. Um yeah. Um but also it's very different as well. I'm on Zoom a lot because pandemic, but and just like you know long distance folks, like talking to people in eastern part of the state and the southern part of the state, it's like far away.
Yeah.
So that piece is similar, but the rest is very different.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, this like phone voice kind of thing, because even talking to you prior to going live, I think for both of us it's like, okay, here's our, just like, we're just talking whatever, and then go live, it's like, here we are, so it's like, I don't think it's disingenuous or not authentic at all, but I think it's a very real kind of reality of like, we have certain ways that we show up in different spaces,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's talk about numbers and algorithm and all of that stuff. I think, you know, being an anxious person myself, I think it's hard to ignore those things. And I think that Twitch, in so many ways, really kind of, I want to say forces you, but really like asks you to pay attention to those things. What is your relationship to the numbers and the algorithm?
I don't look at them except for after stream. I'll look at my stream summary just to see like, hey, how did it go? Or like, oh yeah, that was kind of how I was feeling it was going. Like, or, I thought there were more folks there today. But I try not to focus too much on it because it's only one measure of growth and success
Right.
in the space. Like, I think something that's been helpful is thinking about it not in terms of like how many people were there, but how many people were engaged. Like what percentage of
Mm.
people were chatting and what percentage of people saw your notification on their phone and clicked through and like watched it. Um but I have high engagement. Like the people that show up usually chat and like hang out and talk. So that is another way to sort of shift it. It's not like quantity, it's quality.
Sure. Yeah. Well, engagement too, I think is for me a tricky metric because I do know so many people that engagement for them is just listening and hanging out.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily about how many people are chatting. But when you're on the other side of that, it's like, is anybody here?
Yeah.
What are we doing? You know what I mean? So it's interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting.
I do love my lurkers though.
Of
I'm not
course.
saying like I
Of
really appreciate.
course.
And that's why I
Yeah.
have the quiet hello. I wish more people would do that because I just want to let you know that I'm here. I might not be able to stay or I might be at work, but I am here and I want you to know that I'm here because I want to support you, you know?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's really cool. And now you're making me think, I'm like, maybe I should make one of those. Because it's nice sometimes. I think there's pressure as a viewer to be there and to be engaged when
Yes.
sometimes you're not able to, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, no, that's a really good point. Um, in terms of like metrics and success and whatnot, what is success to you in streaming?
I think for me, I mean, a little bit it's the numbers, right? Like a little bit I'm like, "Ooh, that TikTok really, blew up," or, you know, slightly. Or, "Oh, we had a lot of people," or, "We had 2 raids today. That's really awesome." But also it's when I do my Mortal Monday streams, do people say, "Hey, that was really helpful." Like, "That was really I learned something new, and I'm gonna use that in my life." Or
Mm-hmm.
like, "I really needed to hear that today." Um, when I hear things like that, that makes it all that's it for me. Like, that's what I want. That was the whole reason I started, was to try to help people in that way. Um, I'm very clear I'm not a grief counselor or, like, a mental health professional, but I do want to offer the support that I can. And when I see that I'm doing that, that's what makes it worthwhile for me. And so like obviously being able to share that with more people and help more people would be great. But um I'm honestly I'm good where I am. If nothing else changes, like if I'm just continuing to hang out with the folks that are there, that's fine with me.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some of your hobbies or passions outside of streaming?
Baking.
Nice.
I have won awards for my baking,
Look at you. What kind of things do you like to
but
bake?
cookies mostly.
Okay.
One time I had the best cookie in the state.
Wow. What kind of cookie
Yeah,
was it?
it was a molasses cookie,
Mm.
like a Christmassy spiced. Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
I also like cross stitching. I didn't do the ghost. That's my emote. One of
Oh,
my emotes. My
yeah.
friend did that. My friend Erin did that one for me. But I did this papyrus from Undertale, and
Love
I've
it.
I've been working on so many cross stitches for people for the holidays. But I do enjoy it. But I'm like, gotta keep going. So that's been a new one. I'm very bad at playing video games off of stream. I need to
Mm.
do that more. I'm almost like done with my break, but part of that is I want to play more games just for me because
Mm.
I started and I never wanted this to happen. I've started to view it as like a job, like another and less of a I'm not playing games as a hobby and streaming. I'm just doing it for streaming and I don't want that to be the case. I want to play more games. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What kind of games do you like to play?
I like RPGs and tactical tactics games.
Mm-hmm.
I never my partner's always like, "I never thought when I introduced you to video games that you would be the one in the relationship that would be into tactics games."
Yeah.
So, like, Fire Emblem, Three Houses, which I've played a little bit on stream, games like that. But I also just really like, um, story games, and I'm losing all the genres. They all left my brain, but, I'm really bad at shooters, so that's not my jam. But,
Same.
like, I'm also very bad at platformers. I feel like we talked about this when you were playing Captain Toad. I was
Yeah.
like, I had to rage quit this game. I couldn't I feel like I'd be better now. I think I've gotten better. But yeah, I really wanna be immersed in the story because I also really like to read. So
Mm.
that sort of ties in with the like RPG. Yeah, those like really immersive stories and long form games that are sometimes harder to get through on a stream or takes a really long time and not everybody, yeah, it's a long journey. But I always
Yeah.
appreciate people coming on with me, but it can be a long time, especially because I only stream twice a week.
Mm.
Um, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Are there things that have surprised you since you started streaming?
Hmm. I guess just like how much I love it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Like I knew I would like it. I knew it would be enjoyable. Also, just like all the amazing people that I've met
Definitely.
that I never would have met before because we live so far away or um we just do different stuff. Like I never would have imagined meeting all the people that I've been able to meet on this journey. Um yeah, and also just like I've got like my growth as a gamer has gotten better and surprised me. Actually playing Bloodborne. I beat the first boss in Bloodborne and then came back to it later and was like, "Oh, this is going to go terribly." And then I was like getting better and actually enjoying it. I was like, "Oh, okay. This is actually fun." Um yeah.
There's something really lovely about feeling yourself getting better at something, and I think that like
Yeah.
video games are kind of a very like tangible realization of that. You know, it's fun. It's a good
Mhm.
feeling, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twitch chat, we're going to get some questions from you all in a minute here. So if you have any questions for Strawberry Shortcake, throw them in the chat and we'll get to those in just a second here.
Cool.
Kate, do you have any like pre-stream or post-stream rituals, things that you like do to prepare to kind of wind down?
No, I'm very well, to wind down, I always go and hang out with my partner, like, continue an anime or something we've been watching or and hang out with the cats and just kind of decompress. Usually a treat of some kind is involved. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, now I can have a slice of pie or whatever I have." Um Yeah, there was a there's a clip that I was going through my clips trying to find. There was one where I'm about to do a boss battle in Undertale, and I'm like really nervous about it. And then I'm like, okay, well, can we have pie after? After I do this, can we have pie? So there's usually a treat involved, or like a cup of tea or cocoa or something nice. And then usually it's late at night, so I'm trying to like wind down and sometimes I'll hang out in the place that I raided. I always try to raid, but can't always stay because I got to get to the like turning my brain speed, like the speed down a little bit.
Yeah.
um yeah, but before I'm very disorganized, so I will sit down anywhere between 5 minutes before at the time I'm supposed to be streaming. Sometimes I'm late. I feel so bad about that, but just between getting home or going from work mode to trying to have dinner before stream, which doesn't always happen, to actually getting to the point where I'm streaming, sometimes is we always get there, but sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. Understandable. Yeah. All right, we got a question from T Miller here. So Strawberry Short
Yay.
Kate, do you feel for the death positive message is received well for the most part on Twitch or just in your daily life? I find it fascinating, but I'm curious if that response, if that is the response you normally get when you talk about it.
It does vary. Having started a new-ish job recently, I'm like, do I share it with people like my special interest of death stuff? Like that's weird. Like, do I? How much do I share with people that I'm meeting for the first time? So some people are like, oh, that's interesting. Wow. Some people are like, ooh, tell me about that. Like I'm also very interested in that. In the streaming space, I think I've done a lot better job, like I said, of like cultivating a space where it feels normal to be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
People that come in with a rate are like, huh, that's really interesting. Oh yeah, that's also how I feel. But I've also had people do the exclamation point death positive thing and then be like, oh, I can't, and then leave. which is valid. I don't want you to scare yourself. I don't want you to be traumatized thinking about it if there's stuff going on for you around that.
Definitely.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
does vary for sure.
Yeah. No, that makes
But I've
sense.
gotten fewer and fewer people doing that recently. I think that, like I said, I think the people that want to find it and find me are doing that. But
Yeah. Well, we always have to meet people where they're at, right? So, and like you said, like
absolutely.
I don't think that there's ever an intention of like triggering someone, you know, like
No.
that's obviously not, yeah, not the opposite is, you know, is what you're trying to do. So it makes sense. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Soul Vibes asks, what got you interested in death positivity and what's one thing that brings you joy?
Oh. Um, what got me interested, and I think it's a gateway for a lot of people, is Ask a Mortician on YouTube. And
Mm.
so Caitlin Doty, her books are a really, really good starting point if you're sort of like, huh, this is really interesting. Hold on a second. Getting over a cold.
Oh my God, such a good job with the mute. I just like hack along into my mic always. So that was like very professional. Very impressive.
I was like, don't do it. I the first book I read of hers was Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and it was about being a crematory operator. Um and then From Here to Eternity talks more about like the cultural death practices around the world, which is really interesting. Um Again, her videos are really good starting point, but I've sort of moved beyond, not like, not anti Galen Doty now. I'm just like, I've started to talk, to like, not talk, but to consume more media and more information from people um, in different parts of the death work um, spectrum, I guess. Thanatologists, Cole and Perry. There's a really, really good episode of Ologies, the podcast Ologies with Cole and Perry. I talk about her all the time on my stream. So if you've been to my stream, you've probably heard her name before. Um, she actually runs a school called the School of American Thanatology, or American School of Thanatology, which I'm hoping to actually take some courses from. So those are good places to start. That's where I started. Was I found Ask a Mortician, and I was like, whoa, this is interesting. Talking about all these different processes. Like, oh, like she has a book called "Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs?"
Hmm.
and it's questions about death from kids. So it's kids asking questions
Interesting.
and her answering those questions. Um, because I think there is a there. You can talk about death to anybody. You can talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
it to kids. Kids, you need to talk to it about. Like, I have this really vivid memory of when my grandmother died, being at her wake, and my little cousin, who's 3, her mom just said, "We're gonna go see grandma," and she thought she was actually gonna go see grandma, like still living grandma.
Yeah.
I think there are ways that we need to talk to at every developmental level
Yeah.
about it. And what brings me joy? A good book, hanging out with friends, my partner, my kitten, and my older cat who hates the kitten still, but we're working on it. Um,
Classic.
the kitten is no longer scared of the big cat.
Nice.
The big cat is just like, I don't want you here. And
Mm.
the kitten's like, I can we be friends? No.
Oh.
We'll get there. I think we'll get there.
Time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things you just said about kids, I love. Do you know CJ the X? Are you familiar?
Mm-mm.
They're a video essayist that I'm like, I just love. And they have a quote because they often will like review movies and not review them, really critically analyze them from a certain framework, usually about this kind of idea of like what constitutes art and what is our responsibility as artists and consumers of art. That's kind of their shtick, I guess. But one of their quotes is, "Kids are as smart as we allow them to be." And I love that, especially when we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
media that we create for children. And then, like you said, like these kind of hard subjects, like these are things that all humans experience. And so there are ways to talk about them, you know? I love that. Yeah. Let's see. Arietta says, "Hi, Kate. How do you keep your energy up when things get frustrating during stream?" This is a great question. I remember you doing a doodle of a death in Elden Ring and still keeping it fun.
I mean, that's one thing. That was very fun because I was very frustrated. There were these skeletons. I haven't come back to Elden Ring since then, honestly. There were these skeletons that I kept killing and would keep coming back, and I didn't understand why. And they kept, yeah. Anyway, it was a whole thing.
Hmm.
Those Souls games are tough. Sometimes you're like, ugh. um, honestly, like my community helps. I have a channel point redemption that's like make Kate take a break
Ooh.
because I have been frustrated before, and people have had to be like, Kate, go away, like go do something, get a beverage, get a snack, do what you gotta do,
Mm-hmm.
but like go and take a break because I often forget to take breaks during stream too.
Sure.
But that's been helpful, and just like having people to talk to and be like, oh, did you see that? That was annoying. Like, but sometimes it's, and because it's often frustrating if something happens and you're like, nobody saw that, but I'm very frustrated and I want somebody to have seen that and experience that with me. So like just having people there is also helpful. Um, but it is hard.
Definitely.
I've finished a stream and like started getting emotional because I was like, I feel like everyone could tell that I was mad at the game or not having
Mm.
fun, and I want people to, you know. But also that was my authentic reaction, so it's okay to not be enjoying something.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a cue for you to like switch games or something, Like
Yeah.
just listen to yourself and be like, well, maybe I'll stop playing this right now because it's really bothering me, and I'll just go over here and we'll play this instead,
Yeah.
or take a break. So
Definitely. I have one that's just breathe, BB breathe, where people make me breathe, which is kind of a nod to the fact that I smoke weed, but also the fact that I get frustrated and need to like breathe sometimes.
yeah.
And I remember, and I know you watched me when I was playing Cuphead. It's amazing to me how many people are totally willing and excited to watch you just like bang your head against a proverbial
Yeah.
wall for hours on end. But there were various times where I was like, I'm just gonna go take a lap. I'm just gonna like walk away from my computer. I'll be back. So I think it's a
Yeah.
very normal thing for people to feel
Well, there's
frustrated.
a psychology student who does YouTube videos called, I think, Daryl Plays Games or something like that. And he did a video, he does research, like he'll read like articles of studies done about gaming. And one of them is like, if you are, approaching like a boss battle or something that's really, really hard, and you're just going at it again and again and again, the best thing you can do is take a break
Mm,
because it like resets, even if it's a short break, or oftentimes it's even better to do it like the next day. Oftentimes I've found I am banging my head against the wall trying to make something happen or trying to beat a boss, and I go away and I come back and I do it first try.
yep.
And that's just how our brains, like, we problem solve it even if we're not thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And having that space allows you to be like, okay, I remember this working, and then doing it. So definitely a proponent of breaks,
Yeah.
and just listening to my community who's like, hey, Kate, knock it off, go. We'll be here when you come back, take a break.
Like you said, like that psychology goes beyond video games, right? Like I think that's so true. Like I remember in college, like getting really frustrated writing papers or whatever, and kind of like you said, like the next day you come back to it and you're like, oh, this is fine. Or like being a
Yeah.
musician, like certain things, it's like I can't play this lick or I can't play this scale, and like you said, like so breaks are huge. They really are. And I think it's so hard. I think we live in this kind of like hustle culture that's like work, 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 go, go, go. And especially in the Twitch space, there's this kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? You're on a break right now. So I know that you're probably feeling this, like if you're not streaming consistently every day and if you're not really grinding, blah, 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 right? And it's just not true. So yeah, I think it's so important and also really difficult to give ourselves grace and give ourselves permission to take
Absolutely.
breaks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Are there any other questions I might have missed here? So good to see other people coming in. Welcome. If y'all aren't already following Strawberry Shortcake, get on it. Get out of here and do it. I need to spell your
And
name
then come
correctly.
back.
And then come back. Actually, don't
Hmm.
leave. Just click the little
Yeah, just
the little
make another
follow
tab.
button that'll pop up
Yeah,
at the top
yeah,
of
yeah.
the chat there. Um, and then we'll do one of these too, just to make sure you're following Kate on all the things. Um, one more question here. Let me see. So Arietta has another question. How do you build a community that's so encouraging of you as well as other viewers?
I'm very lucky.
Mm,
But also you are responsible for the space you create. So your rules and your boundaries and upholding those rules and boundaries will help you create the space that you want. So if you have folks that are in your chat and are not treating you well or treating your community well, they gotta go. Like, I have a no tolerance policy for any sort of like hate or bigotry or, and even it's so hard though too because you're like, I don't want to turn away a potential new friend, follower. Like, the numbers thing can get in the back
mm-hmm.
of your head and like itch in your brain, and you're like, ugh,
Yeah.
this person's like kind of not being great, but they're a person in my chat, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but you've got to just be true to those boundaries and um, those rules that you set, because that's really going to make your community what you want it to be. And I'm very lucky to have such encouraging folks in my community. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like like I mentioned a little bit ago, like I'm just hopeful that the people that my people will find me, like the folks that will find my community will be the people that want to stay, and the people that want to stay will be the people that I want to surround myself with and that I want to um yeah, that I just want around. And also encouraging other people. I talked about just the community of streaming and wanting to uplift other people and wanting to see other people succeed and other streamers succeed just generally. And so I'm always trying to send my community raid into folks that I know are safe places for my community to go, but also that I want to boost a little bit by sending more folks over there. Yeah, I think it's, and also just like you you are who you surround yourself with, like
Mm,
to an extent. Like the energy you put out is what draws people to you. So if you put out negative energy, you know, yeah, I
absolutely.
lost it. But that's
No,
sort of
I'm
what I
totally with you. Yeah, I
okay.
think it's huge, and I think that like I always say this, but I'm like I do judge a streamer by their chat, right? And so like
Yeah.
I think that there is a lot of responsibility there in cultivating a space that feels comfortable and safe for you, and then also for other people.
And I think especially because of what we talk about in
Mm-hmm.
my community, we have to be a caring community because we have to show
Yeah.
up for each other if something is triggering for somebody, or if somebody is really struggling with something. Like, I'm always like, hey, I understand, like if you need to talk after stream, my DMs are open.
Mm-hmm.
um trying to make as caring a community as I can so that we can have these conversations about tough topics.
Yeah.
It's important to me. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think too, I'm curious your take on this. As people who are passionate about educating others, because I'm also very passionate about that, and being an educator is my day job actually, and so I know for me that shows up in my stream. Um, there are these moments on stream where it's really hard for me to determine like, is this a teachable moment? Or is this a moment where I need to hold a boundary to make sure that I'm safe and other people are safe? Do you have, I don't know, thoughts on that or advice on that?
I always try to do the teaching part first. I sort of try to probe it and see, like, are you really asking or are you trolling right now?
Right. Yeah.
Just try to determine like if somebody, but it's so hard too because people can act like they want to learn something and then just be there. It just extends the time that they're able to troll you.
Totally.
It's
Yeah.
so hard.
Well, and
I
there's
always
some
try
days
to
where I'm
just
just not
approach
having
first.
it. Sorry. What?
Yeah. No, yeah, like it definitely depends on the day. Some days I'm more giving with my
Mm-hmm.
time. I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to be like, actually, like, okay, something that we're trying to do in my community is ableist language. We're trying to
Yeah.
root out ableist language in my space. And so, if it's a regular who does something, I have an alert that's like, oh, reminder that we're trying to not use that kind of language here. But there are certain people who will come in and, see that or see something and be like, "Oh, you're one of those BLM people or one of the," and that's just you got to go.
Yeah.
Like you just got to follow your gut, I feel like. And
Yeah.
if it was a mistake and if you ban somebody and then they're like in the chat like I really was just trying to learn, if they want do an unban request or whatever, then maybe give them a second chance, but then after that second chance if they continue,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's often fairly obvious, but I think that there's always nuance with these kind of internet interactions and with text interactions. And so
Tone is
it's,
so hard to read.
yes.
You can't see someone's face, you don't know. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's really tough.
Yeah. And I have to own that like a lot of it is where I'm at that day, because there are certain days where it's like I have more emotional energy to kind of like entertain this thing, to kind of probe, like you say, and figure it out. And there are other days that for me, quite frankly, I'm like, nope, not here for it. And I think that as a person who is white and has a lot of privilege, I struggle with that, because I don't want to be like neglecting that responsibility too.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting stuff. Let's see. Soul Vibe says, question, why are you so great? Does this count as a question? I think so.
I don't know.
I don't know. I love it.
Why are you so great?
Oh,
Uno
geez.
reverse.
For real though, Soul is great. No
100%.
pressure, but I would love to get Soul in here at some point.
I would
No,
love
no pressure. I would just really love that. All right, let's see. Arietta, another question. I'm trying to stop ableist language, and my chat has been great, and I've been struggling lately to remember. How do you keep yourself accountable to your own rules without getting down on yourself? Great question.
Well, we're all on a journey. We're all on a continuous learning journey. None of this is just going to be solved. We're not going to we're like, I'm no longer racist or I'm no longer ableist. We're all still going to be learning. There's always going to be changes in language and ways that people prefer to be referred to. And so I just try to give myself and other folks grace and just remind myself. So I usually find that the ableist language comes out when I'm like judging myself. Like I'll be like, oh, that was very S word. But I'll be like, oh, I'm such a fool. Like I'll say usually it's always on me.
Yeah.
But I really try. If I catch myself do it, I just correct myself and move on. And just, continuously try to do better. It's such a long process to change our language because our language is so embedded in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like these concepts, these ableist words are so embedded in our language and how we talk about ourselves and each other and just about things. So just being aware that it's a long process and you're not going to be done ever and it's not going to be fast. So just giving yourself some grace and people around you. And so that's why I try to correct gently at first. And then as people continue to do it, like, hey, we're not saying those words anymore in my chat.
Yeah, definitely. So. Yeah, I think the learning process is true. I think that like often there's kind of this perception or idea of like perfection being the end goal, and it's just not possible, especially with a society that's continually growing and changing and moving.
Perfectionism is white supremacy
100%.
At work.
Yep.
It's like a huge, yeah.
And I think the more you can remind yourself of that too in those moments, being like, oh, that's what's happening here, But yeah, I think giving yourself grace and remembering that this is a lifelong journey and that we're all on it too. It's not just you, Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, StrawberryShortK8, what is some advice that you would give your younger streamer self?
Honestly, I wish I had started sooner because it's been such a positive experience for me. I started in 2021. So like the most lonely times were in 2020 where we couldn't do anything. I wish I would have started a little bit sooner. And just definitely early on, I was more focused on the numbers because there are those early milestones that you really, really, really want to reach. Um, just take it easy. Don't be so freaked out about it. Don't be so judgmental of yourself and how you look on camera and how you sound. And oh, did I say that weird, or did I do a bad job in the game? I'm still trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
But like um yeah, just trying to give myself grace in all the things. Um
Yeah.
I'm still learning so much about holding this space, about video games because I'm new to them, and yeah, it's a journey. It's a
Yeah.
long again, it's a long journey. So,
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, just enjoy it.
There's something I try to remind myself often, and it's not easy. This is one of those things that's really difficult for me. But the fear of looking silly or looking foolish holds us back.
Huge. Yeah.
And I think especially in a space where you're like seeing your face or like hearing your voice or anything, like
Yeah,
I
like
think
what was that face? Why'd you
yeah,
do that?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally, yeah. Do you have any goals or projects that you're looking forward to with your stream?
Um just continuing to make Mortal Mondays into like a cool thing that yeah, just adding more and more to that. I'd love to hit 500 followers in the new year. Again, that's a numbers thing, but I just think it would be cool. Uh, I just want to be more organized, be more intentional. I definitely know you've been trying to do the same thing. Just like be more intentional about how I approach everything and scheduling out times to focus on editing and getting clips up, and that's so hard. That
So
extra
hard.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's not I have a full-time job. And so I don't always have time to like edit and post to YouTube and do all the stuff. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um definitely trying to be more planful about my Mortal Mondays. Planning like the week before, not the day of, but I just revealed the secret there. Sometimes I make the PowerPoint right before.
Shock.
So
No, it's
I just have a
true.
lot of like organizational goals to get myself organized and to make it less stressful because I think the
Mm.
scrambling piece is hard. So if I had, Saturday mornings, I'm going to focus on doing this part of the process, or if I so I'm going to be setting that intention for next year.
Yeah.
I'd love to play more TTRPGs. I did some for charity. Um One of them was really fun. I'd love to do more um of that. So let me
Yeah.
know if anybody has a spot at their table. Um I'd love to play on stream, and I do terrible accents.
Which is
Southern.
so necessary for TTRPGs, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Star Knuckle says, I feel that it's really hard to maintain that balance. It is. It's so
It
hard.
is.
When I
Ugh.
often like have an idea for something I want to edit, and then by the time I actually have time to do it, it's like I'm so tired and I need to just
Yeah.
like not be at my computer. So it's hard. It's not easy.
It is hard.
I
Yeah.
think the theme kind of with everything we're talking about is it's all a learning process. It's all a growing process. It's never going to be exactly how you like hope it will be, and that's okay, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. T. Miller says there's not always an automatic return either, and that can be so hard to find the motivation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping things up here.
Okay.
And
I
what
talk
we'll
to you all day.
do, I know, right? I mean, same, honestly. Well, and if there's anything I'm leaving out or anything else you wanted to kind of cover, definitely let me know. It's like we can continue talking.
I know.
But I like to finish this out with a little questionnaire. So kind of quick and dirty, kind of whatever first comes to mind. So this is
Okay.
10 final questions inspired by James Lipton, Bernard Pivot, and CJ the X, who I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned earlier. So Strawberry Shortcake, what game or activity do you love to stream the most?
Um, Mortal Mondays. That's my favorite.
Yeah. What game or activity do you hate to stream the most?
Um, Anything thing where I have to grind.
Mm. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Communication. Open communication.
Yeah. What turns you off creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Inauthenticity.
Good one. Which streamer would you like to meet most IRL?
You. No.
I was like, I'm
would.
going to have to change this question if everyone keeps saying me.
I
I'm
would,
very
but
flattered.
I would also like to tell Ashley Roboto, like, thank you for helping me get started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. What's something you would like to try on stream but never have?
Maybe a crafting stream.
Yeah.
Or baking. My kitchen's tiny though. That's always my excuse, is like my kitchen is not good. But someday I'll have a better kitchen, and then I'll bake on stream.
I love that. Yeah. What is something you would never want to do on stream?
Exercise.
Mm-hmm.
No Just Dance. No. None of that.
No.
No thanks. No Ring Fit Adventure for me. I'll just go hiking on my own.
Perfect. Why do you go live?
To try to help people be more comfortable with death, talking about death, learning about death, and to meet like-minded people.
Follow-up question. Why do you really go live?
So I have an excuse to play games. Like I have some scheduled time to play games.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, final question. You're on your deathbed. You know exactly how much time you have. You have any and all resources available to you. Viewer count doesn't matter. Commercial viability doesn't matter. None of that matters. What do you do for your final stream on Earth?
It's supposed to be a quick question?
I mean, you can take time. Just whatever.
I think I would just want to be very honest with people about the process. Like what I'm feeling, what is happening, what the process is like. Because it's very rare we get to actually ask somebody what it's like. What does it feel like? What does it sound like? We do know that the last sense to go is a hearing.
Interesting.
So what do you hear? Like what? Just being very honest about the process, like maybe a Q&A. Like, I'm dying, AMA.
I love
Ask me
that.
anything.
I think that's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And also sharing recipes, like, because I want my recipes to live on after me.
You
I
develop
love the
your own
idea.
recipes?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have a really good one for a balsamic rosemary cookie.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
I don't want to be buried, but I could imagine myself having, if I did get buried, having a headstone that has a recipe on it.
Love that.
There's someone on TikTok who's going around making all of those recipes too, like finding gravestones that have recipes on them and then making them.
How cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I didn't really think about this question and asking someone who's death positive, like what their response would be. So this is great.
Well, this is what you got.
This is what I got. Yeah. Awesome. Kate, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your time and your honesty and just everything with us. It's very, very cool. Again, if you all are not following StrawberryShortK8, why? Why not? Give you another shout out here. Let's see. And then Kate, as is tradition here, we're going to go ahead and raid the streamer of your choice. So if there's someone online that you would like to raid, let us know. Thank you to everybody who followed. Appreciate ya.
A friend of mine just went live. I'm going to put their name in the Discord chat we have going.
Perfect. Love
that
it.
way you can, you know what, I'll just...
Their name Twitch is chat, whatever makes sense.
They are a VTuber, non-binary and asexual, LGBTQIA. They're playing Pokemon. I've done a couple of charity streams with them. They're awesome. So I think that's a really great place for us to go. And
they go by Chew, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. And then everybody, here's a little raid message that you can throw in. So if I can spell Kate's name right. I don't know why I always have problems.
Bye, Soul.
Soul, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Gecko and Arietta and T Miller and Starnux and Dark Wolf and anyone else I missed, I apologize. Please feel free to copy and paste that raid message so everyone knows that StrawberryShortK8 sent us. And then actually, real quick, I'm gonna open up, choose thing on my phone. I'm good at stuff. Here we go. Got it. Okay, awesome. Beautiful. Thank you again. It's so nice getting to know you more. Yeah. And then for all the folks in chat, all the people lurking, if you or someone you know would be a good guest for Why We Go Live, you can send an email to whywegolive@gmail.com. That's WHYWEGOLIVE@gmail.com. You can follow Why We Go Live on all the different socials and stuff. And again, if you're not following StrawberryShortK8, go do it. Please tell Chew we say hello. Again, let them know that Kate sent you. And I'll see you all later. And we're rating? I think we're rating. Maybe we're rating. Oh, we're rating. And we're stopping the stream.